We're going to celebrate our friend and TV legend Alex Trebek. TJ Holmes sat down with Trebek a number of times since his cancer diagnosis. He joins us now. Good morning, TJ.
Good morning to you guys. And the last time I was with him a few months ago, we talked about how he wanted to be remembered. And he said he wanted to be remembered, and I quote, as a reasonably nice guy. But he went on to say it would be greedy of him to actually expect anything more. That is that trademark Trebek humility that endeared him to so many people, so many millions of people who are now, of course, mourning the fact that we lost him, but also recognizing we should be celebrating the fact that we got to have him.
Here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Simply beloved.
Let's have some fun. Here comes the Jeopardy round.
That charm.
Bright and successful. Those three words definitely apply to our champion, Lisa.
That quick wit.
Let's look at the $1,000 clue just for the fun of it.
That mustache. All part of America's nightly routine for nearly 40 years. Sunday, Alex Trebek, the humble host of Jeopardy, passed away after a nearly 2-year battle with pancreatic cancer. Canadian-born George Alexander Trebek started his career as an announcer with the Canadian Broadcast Corporation.
Good evening, and welcome to our show.
Before taking the helm at Jeopardy in 1984 at the age of 44.
Welcome to America's favorite answer and question game, Jeopardy.
The man with all the answers would set a Guinness World Record for most game show episodes hosted, eventually getting 8,000 shows under his belt. But in 2019, Trebek revealed his stage 4 cancer diagnosis.
Now, normally the prognosis for this is not very encouraging, but I'm going to fight this.
Trebek kept up his fight publicly, becoming an advocate, raising awareness for the illness and giving frequent updates about his own treatment and experience.
I'm used to dealing with pain, but what I'm not used to dealing with is these surges that come on suddenly of deep, deep sadness. And it brings tears to my eyes.
Never shying away and at times brutally honest about the toll the cancer was taking on him and his family.
There was one day a few weeks ago when Jeannie asked me in the morning, how do you feel? And I said, I feel like I want to die. It was that bad.
Do you use that word burden with your wife?
Yeah, I've used that.
And she says what to you when you say
She says, you're not a burden. She's a saint. But she has so much goodness in her that she is always giving out, always putting out to help me get over difficult moments. And there have been some difficult moments. I'm just in awe of the way she handles it.
Support for Trebek showed up at times on Jeopardy.
What is, we love you out. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
To see that vulnerable side of him really caught me off guard too, but then also made me really grateful that, you know, I could kind of bring this like love and appreciation to him in a way that would touch him so deeply.
And now tributes are pouring in from former contestants turned cheerleaders. From James Holzhauer, a.k.a. Jeopardy James, Alex was so much more than a host. He was an impartial arbiter of truth and facts in a world that needs exactly that. He was someone you could count on to entertain you every weekday, even when his health barely allowed it. And from Jeopardy legend Ken Jennings, Alex wasn't just the best ever at what he did. He was also a lovely and deeply decent man, and I'm grateful for every minute I got to spend with him. A statement from the show says Trebek died peacefully at home, surrounded by family and friends. He leaves behind his wife of 30 years, Jean, their daughter Emily, and son Matt, and perhaps the legacy he'd hoped for.
What you see on air really is what I am. And I'm a reasonably nice guy, and I'd like you to view me that way. I don't go out of my way to malign anybody. I want to be considered as helpful and generous and kind.
I got to get this. He always talked about how great of a job that was, and he would never leave it. And he talked about, literally, guys, sometimes he would have to pick himself up off his dressing room floor in tears and pain, go right to the set, do the show, go back in pain. Get this, guys. He died yesterday, 10 days ago. He was in the studio recording shows. And so we lost him, but you're going to get to see him for a little while longer. He has enough shows he banked that he's actually going to be on the air, new shows, until the end of the year. But wow.
You know, my oldest daughter, Ava, actually cried when we got the news yesterday. And watching that just made me tear up because we, as a family, watch Jeopardy every single night. And mostly because of him. He was the reason we watched.
Such a calming presence. It's such what we needed during this time, this year that we're having.
I always remember he comforted me about his diagnosis. I go out there, he's the one in pain. He said, no, TJ, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm good. He comforted me. I always remember that about him. So we got plenty of stories that we talking about him plenty this morning, and I got stories for days, but I always try to remember yesterday when I got the news. All the joy, all the humor, all the laughs he gave us.
When he was here in the studio, remember? When he was in the studio May of 2019, and the same thing, he made us all feel better.
So good.
You know, we wanted to, anyway, yeah.
And right up until the end, he kept on with it. TJ, thanks very much.
You
We're going to have more on the life and legacy of Alex Trebek coming up in our next hour. We're going to talk live to a couple of the Jeopardy champions whose lives he touched.